And what I'm only talking about, it relates a little bit to what Richard was saying. To be successful, to build an estate, you have to be aggressive, but you also have to be defensive. And I'm only sharing some quick stories on things that can happen to your estate. And have an estate, you're a target, what to do. To start with, be aware that wealth attracts predators. And either for yourself or for members of your family, be aware that 10% of 60-year-olds have mild cognitive decline. 1 in 3 and 85 have dementia. So if you have elderly relatives, be particularly aware that they're targets. Anybody with an estate is a target in your head. So, Aaron, don't distract me. I'm supposed to be talking to everybody. Okay, wealth and aging. Again, I take this into account for myself, as I will explain in a few minutes. But let's give some case examples. And these are all people that I know extremely well. In some cases, they're even relatives. Stop it. This case is a case of undue influence. Again, with your estate, with your heirs, with the elderly people in your family, keep in mind what happened to Peter Smith. There's another Peter Smith in the room. That's his alias. I just blew it. Peter Smith, he was elderly. He was in his 80s, and he had a caretaker. The caretaker, there was a guy, a caretaker, and this man who was the caretaker was a caretaker for him for 5 years, and the family didn't think much about it until he went to his great reward. And his daughter went to the house which she presumed she was going to inherit. The caretaker said, "You left it all to me. You can't come in." She learned, the family learned, that Peter's caretaker had claimed that he was gay, by the way, that he had a gay relationship with Peter, and that Peter had left him absolutely everything, the house, the money, the boats, just everything. And yet there was this document that said that he had done it. Well, the family was able, after 2 years of being in court, to have it reversed and prove that Peter wasn't competent. But prevention would have been so much better, because 2 years in court, the stress, the state not settled, a bad guy living in the house. So what do you do about it? This is something that in all the families that I've constituted, that we've agreed to do it, and family members cite it. And take me as an example. I have a document witnessed by various people saying that any changes to my will, if they aren't witnessed, and I've list a number of people who, if they'll witness it, like my sister, my brother, my lawyer, that no changes to my will are valid unless somebody else witnesses it. And the purposes of that, I think that I'm mentally competent, but what if I were ill? What if 20 years from now I get dementia or something, or there's a medication and there's an unscrupulous caretaker? The thing to do about unscrupulous caretakers is no changes to the will unless they're witnessed by an approved person. Next, the sympathy scam. We'll call this person Augusta. Augusta, something like 12 years ago, met a woman. She met this woman who had a real sad story. Her husband had died unexpectedly, and she didn't have money for funeral expenses. Augusta, being a tender-hearted person, I think it's called suicidal empathy, but anyway, she decided to help this woman out. And she gave $1,000 or something for funeral expenses. But then, a little bit later, this scammer told Augusta, "I'm having trouble with my wife. Could you help tide me over?" And then a little bit later, "I've been diagnosed with cancer. And by the way, this is 12 years ago, so keep in mind 12 years ago. I've got cancer. I've got medical bills to pay." And bit by bit, she sort of worked her way into Augusta's suicidal empathy situation, where she kept asking for more money. And when Augusta tried to stop, she guilt-tripped Augusta so badly. Well, Augusta told me, shortly before the passing, which was this summer, she said, Yet she was really embarrassed because she thought that she was getting like $7,500 a year to this woman she didn't like anymore, and she was expecting her to die of cancer, and she never did die. Well, the lawyers who were looking after Augusta's estate discovered that bit by bit, the scammer, her name is Carpe Diem, in case any of you ever come across this, had gotten $1.5 million from Augusta. It's called the sympathy scam, and they do it very slowly and gradually, but that's not quite the end of the story, because, well, the cure for this is, if somebody's elderly, have somebody else look over the checkbook to make sure that there aren't expenses that are just totally unexplained. This is the collect on dentist scam, and we're still with Carpe Diem, the woman who got scammed $1.5 million from Augusta. In that case, in the case of Carpe Diem, a family member of Augusta tracked down Carpe Diem, then would you believe she's on YouTube telling about how to live the good life with like royalty in Spain or in, I mean, just extreme fakery. The story continues. Collect on death. Details of the sympathy scam. These are details of we have the accounting of all. You don't have to read it, but these are, I'm going to skip to whatever. What I was showing you was a list of payments, but they're like weekly almost, and Augusta had no idea. She wasn't paying attention. But COD, collect on death. Augusta dies. Suddenly, I'm the victim of this woman. She daily writes me, even including this morning, she wrote to say, because I haven't fulfilled what Augusta was my sister, since I haven't fulfilled what my sister was obligated to, this morning, she's going to go to make it public. So both legally and publicly. Well, I promised you answers for every situation. Let's see, the next slide is going to show it. Yes. Tell anybody who's been a victim of the collect on death, the COD scam, that if it's in writing in almost every state, they have no claim on you unless it's in writing. I mean, check with your lawyer, but according to my lawyer, that's generally this to prevent scams that don't feel that you have to pay just because somebody claims that they have, because it's too easy to be scammed by trusted employee. And so that I don't run out of time, I'm going to gallop through this. But a trusted employee of another person, we'll call her Victoria. But this woman, Victoria, a little bit like Augusta, was not terribly careful with her checkbook, and in her last years, she wasn't full-blown dementia, but she wasn't smart either. And the trusted employee had track of her checkbook and was giving herself and her friends $10,000 bonuses. And the cure for that is, by the way, the trusted employee, Victoria, loved her, trusted her. But the antidote to that is, no matter how much you trust, do not give employees check writing privileges. Just never do it. I've talked with lots of lawyers and so forth since, and that is the recommendation because, the word confidence, a con man, that my father used to say, if a con man looked like a con man, he wouldn't be a con man. So no matter how much you trust, do not give employee check writing privileges unless somebody is looking up her. Okay, and now we come to me. In my case, there was an article about me in Fortune magazine, which happened to be extremely wrong, but like catastrophically wrong. It's very flattering, but it was wrong. It said that I, as a Sheridan heiress and as a Purdue heiress, was worth $17 billion. Well, when that came out, I was in New Hampshire at that point, and law enforcement people came to me and said, at the level of $17 billion, you're going to attract people who will kidnap you for ransom. And I got advice very quickly about like turn off all my phone things that weren't where they could track me. But then it got a little bit worse and a little bit more terrifying. And that's 17 billion. I was also told that would attract the attention of state actors like Russia or Iran or North Korea. Okay, so I'm hearing this and this isn't feeling comfortable. And I go to Norton and to check if I have any worms or anything. Guess what? There are a whole bunch of Trojans there. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the malware Trojans, they're very good at they get in and then they can spread other malware. And at that point, I'm in a state of misery because I don't want somebody to go drain my bank account. I generally prefer not to be kidnapped and ransomed. So what do you do when something like that happens? Well, what I recommend is there's a lady and gentleman here. They're in back, and I'd like you to wave your hands. You're looking at Monica Pearson and Seth Brown. I had heard them speak and we become social friends. And at this point, how about terror? Because like I'm the executor of my sister's estate and there's money and I don't want thousands and thousands of people being able to track me. And one of the things I learned is that on the dark web, there are lists that people can buy so that they can get your personal address, they can get your phone number. And I began getting these phone calls like at 3 a.m. where I'm groggy. And they say, am I speaking to Mitzi Berdito? And when I didn't know better, I said, yes. What that was all about, I have since learned, CIA people have told me this, that they can sell a phone number for much more if it's verified that it is the person. Okay, so one of the great virtues of Monica Pearson and Seth Rao, but there are other people who will do this, but they're the ones who helped me. One of their great virtues is they do hand-holding. Because I was in real distress with the idea that somebody could drain my bank account or worse, get into my children or grandchildren. Actually, I should invite both of you to say what you did, but I asked them at lunch and they'll tell you in greater detail. But what they did do was, next day, by FedEx, they sent me a special phone giving me a new identity. You can swim. And the phone had an email and a phone number that gave my address as North Dakota. We shut down all my iPhone, my iPad, my laptop, my desktop, so that everything had just gone blank, except it was slightly better than that because I gave my real iPhone to my niece who was in a nursing home like 500 miles away. So if somebody was trying to track me, they would be utterly disappointed because they would not get me. Anyway, the end result of it is I think it's called what's the thing that you can screen any, it's a program you put on the backdrop navigation. It's better than that. There is a way where with the iPhone that they sent me and the new identity they gave me, a new Apple address and everything else, they can track and see what emails are coming in. They can keep me from getting additional malware. And let's see, I don't want to run out of time and I've got 23 seconds. My points for you, since this is about giving you information you can use. And actually, I hope you never can use it, but know it's there. No changes to a will without approval. Segregate bank accounts. Make sure that the person who writes the check has somebody who's looking over his or her shoulder. Trusted eyes look over checks. Employee saying the same thing over, calling the Conroy. And I've now just run out of time. Thank you.
If you are a founder, raising capital, developing real estate, or you're an investor, would love for you to get involved in the Family Office Club. I've run this community for 18 years now. We've hosted 300 live events. We have 17 million social media group members and followers. We have the #1 YouTube channel on family offices. We have the #1 most popular podcast on family offices. You can learn more about us and our membership options at familyoffices.com. We have 30 in-person events planned in 2026 and another dozen events this year. Please go to familyoffices.com to learn more.